Joined now by Vicki McKenna for CultureCast. Vicki, it's great to see you this week.
Great to be here.
And you're an actual woman. I'm an actual man. We're going to talk about men who can't stand being themselves, and a culture that seems to believe that because you change a pronoun, all of a sudden your biology changes. Take a look at the first story. This is one that I think everybody's already heard about. We have a trans model, whatever that means. We have a man basically pretending to be a woman. And here's the thing. Let me ask you this right off the top. Trans model, Sports Illustrated, all kinds of beautiful women applied for this. The cover went to a man pretending to be a woman. Now, explain to me, Vicki, what is the difference between this and a transvestite? We have all these transvestites reading to little kids, men who are men dressing as women. This is a man who's a man dressing as a woman. Why is one considered a protected class of new gender identity and the other just kind of a campy, fun little parade experiment in gender bending? What's the difference between the two of them?
There isn't a difference, and they're both designed. Both ideas are being promoted to, I think, subvert natural sexuality. I think the whole idea is to promote alternative sexuality, to promote it, to encourage people to engage in it, either 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, or adult men. But look at that guy on the cover of Sports Illustrated. What survey was done of subscription holders? Where is it in the United States or anywhere else where this magazine might be sold? Where is the demand for a man to pose as a woman and then wind up on the cover of Sports Illustrated? I mean, what market is this actually serving? Remember, Sports Illustrated is a men's magazine, and the swimsuit edition is strictly, to titillate men. And what men out there said, what we really need, what we haven't had in forever or ever, is a guy on the cover of Sports Illustrated pretending to be a woman. Said no subscriber to Sports Illustrated ever. And yet there it is. It's not about market. It's not about making money. It is about promoting the politics of alt sexuality, whether you like it or not. And this is what the Sports Illustrated magazine is inflicting on people who already signed up to get a subscription.
Yeah, this isn't promotion, Vicki. This is proselytizing, right? This is using their power to, with all the zeal of a religious reformer, put this in your face. This is inquisitorial in some ways, right? This is the new orthodoxy. You will be made to care. We're going to interrupt our regular scheduled program to be able to point to and put that guy back up on the screen. How many boxes does he tick, right? He's black. He is pretending to be a woman.
He's black Asian.
That's right, pretending to be a woman. I mean, so tick, 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 all down the new political correct orthodoxy. And the other thing I would ask about this, so what is it? Why is it that in a magazine that is dedicated to showing women, right? Women in bikinis. How does that get you there? I mean, this isn't that. This is actually a man. And as we've seen all across sports, all across other areas of human endeavor now, men, simply because men who would never be able to have these privileges, never be able to have these perks, never be able to rake in the kind of money she's going to rake in for this, he's going to rake in for this. Now, because they simply decide they're women all of a sudden, they're taking all this money away from actual women, and there's not a soul on earth who seems to care.
No, and it's not just money, it's opportunity. You're talking about men who are pretending to be women being determined to be actual women, are allowed to parade naked around little children in locker rooms, are allowed to invade dressing rooms, are going to be getting promotions and are going to check the box for gender diversity at a company, are going to be given awards, have already displaced women in sports. In actual women in sports, whether it's Olympic sports, whether it's competition for collegiate scholarships. And I shouldn't say nobody, lots of people are outraged about this, but the moment you express outrage is the moment the mob comes after you. Almost no one can survive the mob. Someone like J.K. Rowling can survive the mob. And by the way, good on her. I disagree with nearly everything she says and believes in, but she is stuck to her guns that allowing men to declare themselves women upends opportunities, rights, protection, and privacy for women. And they have tried mightily to go after her, but I guess she's achieved enough of, a high enough station in life where she finds herself protected. But if you're at the low end, if you are just a mom who doesn't want the boy showering with your daughter in the school locker room, what argument do you have? What group of support do you have? Because the moment the mob comes for you, everybody you think is your friend will abandon you.
Look, as you pointed out, J.K. Rowling survives because her books are still selling gangbusters for her publishers. How many times have we seen in just this last week, Amazon apologizing, other publishers apologizing for actually publishing books that question transgenderism? We had a big explosion of outrage because a publisher mentioned one of her book holdings, which was a book that was very, very seriously a challenge to the transgender movement, and she had to apologize abjectly for even mentioning they published it.
Yes, here's the book, by the way.
Exactly.
I have the book.
Yep.
This is the book that they're talking about.
Irreversible damage.
She was the publishing company was attacked for publishing this book. The whole book is about the how the transgender the promotion of transgender political ideology is destroying women, not just because men are taking the role of women, but because women are being encouraged to attempt to at least as aggressively assume the role of men, and it's destroying women.
It is. And after the break, let's talk about this outrage that you mentioned. What happens when you fight back? We've got a great video clip. We'll see you out of the other end. Back now with Vicki McKenna. Let's continue this conversation about the minute you stand up to this on behalf of women. When did standing up for actual women, men of all sorts, people in general, standing up for women's rights to be women? This would have been the hippest, most feminist, most progressive thing you could have done just 5 years ago. Now you are a bigot if you do it. Take a look at this clip of a woman who was simply trying to have a spa day in California, and then some dude, and dude is what he was, walking around with a semi-erect penis in the women's locker room.
I just want to be clear with you. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis around the other women, young little girls underage. Your spa, we spa, condone that. Is that what you're saying? Like I asked. It's so he can stay there. He can stay there. What sexual orientation? I see. It lets me know he's a man.
So we couldn't really hear the clerk very well, but he was basically saying, hey, this is his orientation. This is who he is. So you're just going to have to get over it. That's California
you're going to have to
law.
deal with it. Yeah. So walking around with a semi-erect penis, exposing himself to women in a locker room. But we're not supposed to say he. We're supposed to believe that the man walking around with a penis hanging out in the locker room, exposing himself to little children, is actually a woman, okay? Because no woman would ever do that, Duke. Just in case anybody needs a call on this one, women don't expose themselves in public in any way, in any capacity. Women don't walk around shaking their boobs or sticking their private parts out in the face of other women. That never happens. So here's a guy doing it, but we're supposed to say, oh, no. He's a woman, despite the fact that this is behavior that is completely foreign to women.
And what you just said makes powerful sense, right? Women aren't sexualized enough. And according to the progressive left, women should be as dramatically, hyperbolically, in-your-face sexual as men. The fact that they're not, women aren't jabbing their butts into men's faces, they're not walking around shaking their breasts at people's faces, that shows how co-opted they've been by the patriarchy.
I guess so.
So what we're going to do...
It's not biology, it's not nature, it's the fact that we've been co-opted by the patriarchy, that we're not rubbing our privates in everybody's face when we have an opportunity to do it.
That's right. And so what's got to happen is men have to cross the line into the domain of women and show them how it's done. They're doing this with kids too. It's the same thing with little kids. Kids aren't sexualized enough because, of course, Christianity and the patriarchy. So little boys now dressing as 6 and 7 and 8-year-old boys dressing as girls go to gay bars where they're leered at, where they're whistled at, where they're having money strapped down their panties, pushed by adult men.
That's real.
And this is normal now. That
is real. You can actually look up the story. I think the kid's name is Desmond. and he goes to basically drag bars and strips and behaves like an adult committing, sensual acts on stage, and people stuff dollar bills down his panties. It's horrifying. But on this Wee Spa situation where here's a guy walking through the women's locker room, semi-erect penis, shoving it in people's faces, doing it on purpose to make people uncomfortable, to upend privacy and safety and security, and to make women feel as if they are just maybe one step away from an assault. I think somewhere Louis C.K. is demanding an apology because this guy was run out of his job, canceled as a comedian because he exposed himself to women. So, somebody needs to explain to me why it's not okay for Louis C.K. to expose himself to unwitting, unwilling women, but it is okay for this guy to expose himself to unwitting, unwilling women.
Well, Pee Wee Herman.
Why is one Me Too and one's not?
No, Pee Wee Herman was arrested for masturbating in a dark theater, right? I mean, rather than arrest him and give him a perv record for the rest of his life, maybe we hail him as a pioneer in the field of exposure. Maybe that's the new thing, exposure, right? Exposing yourself separates the woke from the unwoke.